Jesse Williams. I'm producer of Hoops, Hopes, and Dreams.
I'm Alexis Feaster, producer of Hoops, Hopes, and Dreams.
Hi, my name is Glenn Kino. I'm the director of Hoops, Hopes, and Dreams.
Thank you.
Afshin Shahidi. I am a producer on the film and also the cinematographer.
So I want to know first, just sort of where did this come from? Like talk about the origins and how each of you got involved with this project.
So I have been working for over a decade with the athlete Tommy Smith, who in 1968 did the salute in the Mexico Games Olympics after winning the men's 200. And a lot of us have done a lot of projects with him over the years, and one of them was helping start his foundation. And so every year I go to his foundation gala, and I actually make the award for the honoree at the gala. And a few years back, the honoree was Ambassador Andrew Young. And out of all the interviews Afshin and I have done with Tommy and usually politicians, whenever two people start talking, the politician usually wants to flex and floss out how much they had athletic prowess as a youth. And it was no difference in this case. Ambassador Young gets on stage, gets the award, and the first thing he says is, "Tommy, did I ever tell you the time when Dr. King and I used to play basketball to connect with kids in the youth in the movement?" And I was like, "What?" I dropped my fork, and I'm sitting in the back, and I literally like navigated all the tables to ambush him in the parking lot, and I stopped him before he got in his car, and I said, "Ambassador Young, my name's Glenn Kino. I love that story, and would you mind letting us make a film about that?" And his response was like, "I love basketball. I love Tommy. I love Dr. King. Yeah, of course." And so with that, we were off.
Amazing. Producers, do you want to talk about how you all got involved?
Sure. Hearing the idea,
Okay.
Michael Att and Glenn, had something they were really fired up about. I've worked with these guys on some of the Tommy Smith stuff in the past, and obviously it just made a ton of sense. Never mind the fact that I used to have a basketball podcast. I love basketball and all that it contributes to people growing up, and so it was just a no-brainer. I mean, I love working with this team any chance I get.
And I got involved. I was introduced by a mutual friend to Michael Latt, who's our other producer, who's unfortunately no longer with us. But we met over a Zoom, and he was asking me a bit about my background. And my previous work has been, at the NBA leading player development and leading all the social impact work. So I lived in the NBA bubble. I got 96% of the players to register to vote. Prior to that, I led President Obama's athlete and celebrity strategy. And he was like, "We cannot do this film without you." I was then introduced to Glenn, which was amazing because obviously Glenn is amazing. And it was like, chemistry at first sight, aligned on vision, values, who we are as people. And that's really rare when you meet people, and right away you're like, yes, I want to be a part of this. And so I was introduced in that way and could not be more excited to be part of the film and be able to lend my expertise coming from the political side and the basketball side. So it's been great.
Well, I met Glenn. He's one of the first people I met when I moved to LA 20 years ago. And since then, we've collaborated on a number of projects. It's always been a wild ride. One time it was actually in a drift car, and it was a wild ride. And then we spent 7 years kind of stuck at the hip making the Tommy Smith feature documentary. And then he told me about this idea, and I was like, of course, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, one of the striking things about this short is the use of animation, and I wanted to ask you all how that came to be and what it was like kind of realizing those sections of the movie, because they are so striking.
Well, when we heard about the story, I had heard the story, at the gala, and in preparation for our interview with Ambassador Young that Michael and I attended and Michael produced, we sat down and we said we have two goals. One is to get the story, and one is to get the photo of Dr. King playing basketball. Yeah. And so when you do an interview, we did hours and hours of interviews with Ambassador Young, and I'm poking around the question like, hey, do you have a photo? And at one point, we get Ambassador Young to say, he says, "I was the photographer for the movement. I had a camera all the time. Every photo, I took a lot of them, And we said, "Great, so you must have the photo of Dr. King playing basketball." And he says, "Nope, that doesn't exist." And we said, "Well, how are we going to prove that how are we going to illustrate the story in a way that lives up to his storytelling?" Because as a storyteller, Ambassador Young, is of the top capacity, and so animation was what we immediately walked out and thought of, and we have a great animator named Kirill Yaretsky that we've also collaborated with in the past, and Kirill's also a huge basketball fan, and a world-class animator, and so all of it just came together over time. Specifically, the way we started, and as a visual artist, I always start with Kirill with trying to identify unique signature visual styles. So we came with the idea of the gravitas being pen and ink drawing, and what that looks like as a scribe, and then we layered from there.
And it's such a great reveal too of because the Obama story is told without
Yeah.
saying that it's him, and then seeing him sort of in animation is great. I mean, I'm assuming you started first with the MLK animation and carried it over. I mean, what made you kind of bring it back? Because there is footage of Obama shooting hoops all the time, right?
Yeah, I think that we wanted to have the Obama reveal be a big moment in the film.
Yeah.
And we knew that everyone knows that, or many people know that Obama plays basketball, but not many people knew like how Strout and that team got together and how it was there really from the beginning. Basketball, we wanted to show that basketball was not decorative. Obama didn't pick that up. Yeah.
Right.
As a way to like connect with people. It was something that was part of his persona, and that he smartly strategized to use in a way. But yeah, and then it was just such a great story that Strout told that we wanted to make sure that it lived up to the Dr. King story.
I was wondering if you guys could speak to putting this movie out now. Obviously, I think we need it. It's a very fraught time, and obviously you couldn't predict when the movie was going to be finished and coming out, but I was wondering what it means for y'all to be showing it in this sort of climate.
Well, what a trip that it's days after it's Martin Luther King Day weekend was moments ago. It's really fortuitous. You have this confluence of good and terrible timing with the loss of our dear friend, and also what the country is going through, kind of bursting at the seams. And there's a lot of, no matter what side you're on, we know that it's not going well. It's not going smoothly, and people aren't cooperating with one another, seeing one another, considering one another. And it is a nice time to take one of our, it's easy for us to deify legends and have them in a black and white photo up on the mantle, up on the wall, but to bring them back down to eye level and understand that this didn't happen through the internet or through tweets. It happened through human beings connecting to one another, meeting people where they are, speaking their language, finding out what they really care about, what their concerns are, in between the big monologues, just being with people. And Dr. King, the fact that this one of our greatest orators and greatest heroes, this is another way to joyfully celebrate and unpack the way in which he fellowshipped with people and connected and recruited. Nowadays, you'd want to connect with young people on TikTok or something, but he's going to where people are and connecting to them, listening to them, and that clearly fueled why he was so resonant with people of all ages and all communities.
Yeah.
I also think basketball, as we know, is just such a great unifier, right? So the story that we're telling in this day and time, people can watch it and not feel like they're being admonished, not feel like they're being judged, whether or not they're active in their communities or not. You can sit next to someone at a game and be, black, white, different political backgrounds, and you can fellowship in that way. And so the fact that we're using the game of basketball to tell the story of community, and as Jesse mentioned, to tell the story of strategic community building, hopefully that will plant a seed in someone's mind, heart, and spirit to say, regardless of how you've been living your life, I think we all have a chance to rewrite history and rewrite our own history. And I think watching a film like this will hopefully motivate people to want to do that, especially in these times.
Yeah.
I also thought about what it makes me think of is who you surround yourself with matters, is a reflection of you. You're building a team, you're drafting a team, who wants to get up on this next game. You're picking people who you're going to try to build something with and accomplish a goal. And in both cases, we have Andrew Young, who's still alive to tell this story. Dr. King chose somebody really great to be the point guard of the movement, who's going to continue to tell his story. We are all reflections of each other. Same for who we got to talk to us about Obama's journey. These are all extensions of ourselves, and that really matters. If we choose poorly, your story gets mangled or disappears or dissipates in some way, and not from a vanity perspective, but from an accuracy perspective. So again, it all centers, it goes back to like a collective health and wellness, I think.
Well, I can't think of a better note to end on. Thank you all so much. I love the movie so much, and it was such a treat to talk to you.
We appreciate your
Yeah.
support.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.